Okay, so I want to go through this just one more time, a little bit more in depth, because I think there's been a lot of work put into this campaign setting, and I think it was one of the first, if not the first, campaign settings for the Amazing Engine, and you're going to hear some page rippling because I'm going through the book here, the physical book, but I'm going to go through it bit by bit. What stands out the most? Uh, First of all, you got in the first chapter, you got the character of England and all the different factions that are in this world. You have the Unseelie court, which is this kind of like a behind the scenes kind of a network kind of thing going on with the Faerie realm. In the Faerie realm, I thought it was interesting that I read this whole book from back to front, and I thought it was interesting that there's it all stems like the evilness and of this maleficent fairy realm and all that stems out of, I think, northern Scotland. So something, they're not keeping the grips on something over there, but and then you have all this enter into the world and all that, and then you have the esteemed order of thaumaturgists, which they kind of work with the Unseelie court here. And let's see here. They need the aid of humans in their evil plans. And their staunchest allies have been the esteemed order of thaumaturgists. So they're probably, it says a secret society, but I think, and it says all about overthrowing the queen, but they're probably more in the the more visual element of the evil, the more, the ones out in front that are working with the Unseelie court, hence the name Unseelie, Unsee. And he goes over Scotland. This is Scotland, says the entente between the Unseelie court and the esteemed order. It's not the only threat facing our empire, though it is certainly the most significant, due in part to this close proximity of the Slaw and their court. The Highlands of Scotland remained in a potential crisis. Then you got Ireland, of course. A lot of pagan Irish going on, doing things over there, and there's a lot of fairy folk there. And different troops, you get different factions. You got the mysteries, that's a whole nother thing. You got the troop sinister. Okay, just let your imagination go with these. The Grey Sisters. Okay. You got the Shadow Men, another sinister group. Secret Society. Great influence over immigrant communities of the major cities. So there's quite a few that you could really, bring up and have your heroes go against, or I shouldn't say really. I mean, go against, but you always got to remember, this isn't a fighting game per se. It's probably, like I was going over before, a dramatic mystery, like finding stuff out, kind of like a Call of Cthulhu, but a little bit lighter than that. Where your heroes aren't really buffed up. I mean, they could be, they can use magic and all that, but magic has a cost and all that, and or you could play it as comedy and comedy drama. I think the way I've been playing it, even though it was set in the 1920s, is comedy with a bit of mystery and a dab of drama. Kind of a good mixture there. And so that's going to take us into the PC. And first of all, right away, it gives you a base adjustment. It says add a base value of 20. All right, 20 to every score, ability score. And this says, remember, your character's movement rating and amount he can lift are based on the unadjusted rating. So the movement and the in the lift factor of strength here. And this is, let's see, the movement is for your fairy, queen, and country characters' reflexes, -20. So that's a little difference right there. And then the different, you can either choose or roll how much fairy you want or fairy you want in your character. You can have fairy blood. You can be tainted, complete human, marked, blooded, full fairy. And then the different fairy features, which I thought this kind of gets your imagination going. You can have hooves, you can have arched eyebrows, huge mouth, large eyes, large head, elongated nose, excessive wrinkles, no neck, flapping ears, leafy hair, glowing eyes, greenish skin, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Nationalities and all that kind of stuff. The type of fairy. If you didn't know much about fairies going into this, you're going to know a lot more going out. That's for sure. And of course, the social class comes in here. You can. This is a big part of it. The working class, the Borghese. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Borghese, something like that. And then the gentry. So the working class is your, he's a guy in there, I would say he like a factory worker, rustic, soldier. That's what my guy is, Stanley is. He's a rustic ex-soldier. He can be an entertainer and go-between, a guy that kind of goes, or woman that goes between the classes to help them out. The Borghese, I know I'm saying that wrong. I said clergy, civil servant, correspondent, detective, doctor, hooligan, Mohawk, soldier, solicitor, sorcerer. So some of these are still kind of working class, but maybe make a little bit more money or a little bit more seen as more respectable, a little bit more, of a little bit higher of a function, I guess, as they're perceived in this. But they have clergy as a working class, and clergy is Borghese. The gentry. Gentry is a dilettante, public servant. Again, soldier. Soldier does all three because the rankings. Solicitor. Barassator. Sorcerer. So there you go. You can choose a profession. And the professions give you certain kind of points that you can use, your skill pools there. And you can add stuff more skills depending on your profession. And doctor, entertainer, go between, hooligan. Been talking about like gangsters, that kind of stuff, thugs. And then there's a big emphasis on the military ranking system, which is pretty fascinating, and how many points you get to use on your stuff there, on your skills and all that, and abilities. Infantry, cavalry, Royal Marines. I mean, they say it's like, look, this isn't a historical thing, but man, you kind of know, you should know some history of the Victorian era in England going into this, just to help you out with what's been going on before this period and what takes place after, so you know what is around and what has affected the area, what war has just happened, what war has yet to happen. It usually can't help but to get mucked down in history a little bit there, which, I mean, it's not always, it's good. It's good to, go back and get a little history lesson. Again, I'm more familiar with American history, so this would challenge my European English history, which is good. It's good. The amount of money that you can make, depending on your rank, is there. But yeah, so it goes over that quite a bit. Awarding experience, mostly for non-combat situations. There's a little chapter or two on that. That's nothing. I mean, it's nothing really too interesting to go over. Again, a lot of your experience isn't going to be combat. experience, although it could be, but it covers mostly non-combat situations. And again, the more experience, the more skills that you can get, and it's not necessarily a leveling up. But you do get experience points that can help another character in another universe if you so choose, and it can help you. You can use them when you have to do a roll or something like that. So you can kind of, like I said, kind of like the Ghostbusters RPG. They're kind of like brownie points that you can use to help you out in the game. Skills to fit the image. You got stamina and body points. I went over this when I was playing the actual game. Characters for Faerie, Queen, and Country are not endowed with great numbers of stamina or body points. Fighting is not a wise or necessarily useful activity in this universe. Negotiation, wit, and a well-played bluff will get your character much further. Character stamina points are equal to 1/5 of the total willpower and reflexes and attributes. His body points are equal to 1/5 of his fitness attribute. In both cases, round fractions up. And they give you an example how to do that. I went over that a little bit. And the playthrough. And then skills, and more skills. You got general, you got forensics, criminal, athletics, the arts, bureaucracy, the craft, languages, rural, medicine, marksmanship, sciences. Of course, Stanley was into the marksmanship and rural, so I put a lot of skills there. And all the different skills goes all over them. Lock-picking, handwriting, thievery was big back then. Chimney sweeper, they talked about the chimney sweeper. And then there's a bunch of thieves that it's basically that's their MO for or the operating procedure for getting into expensive houses and stealing a whole bunch of stuff. Using experience or anything. I talked about that. Oh, magic. Let's get to magic. Because I didn't read this the first time too thoroughly. I didn't the second time I went through it. And there's a whole structure. It's different from D&D. They have a formula that you have to use. And agent plus action plus target plus effect plus conditions plus taboos. So all these factor into a certain kind of, they add or subtract from a certain number that you have to, I believe, roll under for the spell to be effective, I believe. Conditions. Let's see here. It says here, let me read this real quick for you. As pieces are assembled, most elements have a difficulty. Making. Let's see. The building for a spell, it's important to include the right pieces to make the spell work. You got to have a piece, complete workable spell before it can be created. Just talking about parts of the spell. It says, unlike many other role-playing games, there are a few spell lists. And for Faerie, Queen, Country, there's just a few pre-generated spells that the characters can pick and choose from. Only the glamours of the fairy folk are predefined to ease the GM's risk of handling these strange creatures. For the most part, every spell must be created before it can be used. And so an important part of every physic and sorcerer is the time and the wit put to the task of devising new spells. This is for Faerie, Queen, and Country. Spells are created by building the effect from a collection of parts, much the same way anyone follows a recipe, writes a computer program, or builds a model kit. In the case of magic, the spellcaster uses a simple formula, which, like a sentence, to build a spell, the sentence is composed of different parts. The action, the target, spell conditions, and so on. Limitations. As each is put together, the combinations create a complete spell, unique from all others. Research time, spell approval, casting, and types of magic, resisting magic, the glamours. That's what the fairies use, and how those work, and the limits of them, and divination, herbalism, spiritualism. Goes into that a bit. Again, I didn't have a main character that was using magic, so I might eventually do that, or have them go up against a character, or have a character that uses magic, so it's good to know this. So, the lexicon alphabetically lists the actions possible with magic. Regardless of the type of magic, glamour, craft, or art, the description given remains the same. The entries are organized as follows. You get your name. The alternative terms just lists the scientific name of the action suggested. Other wordings for spell use. Difficulty. This is the base difficulty rating for the action. The description may include variations that raise or lower the action's rating. Description. The main section provides a general description of the action and any specific limits in which it can do. It is an effect that must be stated. It is noted here. If an effect must be stated, it is noted here. So yeah, each spell has a difficulty number. Okay. So I think, let's see, I'm not sure if you have to roll above or below. Yeah, I think you have to roll low. I think you have to roll low under these difficulty numbers. I wish they were a little bit more clear about that. The difficulty number can go up quite a bit. It can go up to 100. So, yeah, maybe it's a D100 that you got to roll. Under. But yeah, it goes into that quite a bit. And then you have all that is holy. And Albion. Albion is kind of like the stand-in for the Christian church in this. Fairies don't like, they're not allowed in churches, or if they do, they take heavy damage. It's hallowed ground there. And it doesn't go into it too much. It's just a few pages based on it, though. But a lot of them have, if you're a clergy, or you have, I'm sure you have some kind of resistance to fairies and magic like that. Let's see here. Sanctify. This power is protective, although the clergyman seeks to extend a protective influence over the area no greater than 5 meters per radius. The player makes a normal check against the character's faith and is successful. All unholy things, fairies and evil magic, are weakened. Fairies attempt to use glamours or make physical attacks have their chance of success reduced by 5. Spells that affect the target in the area have a 5% chance of failure. So yeah, it goes on a bit about that. Fortify. This power strengthens the righteous, making the efforts to defeat evil more effective. Cast out. So, and I like these little pictures here. The guy batting some of these fairies away in the house, like they got into the house. You got crosses, you got church bells, holy water, and all their effects on the fairy kind. Going a little bit into combat and violence and law. Oh, there's a whole combat table here I didn't really notice before. But it focuses on guns. Oh, yeah, okay, I've seen this. Shotgun. I use this because Stanley has a shotgun that he used. Musket, revolver, all the damage. And, of course, there's always a chance that the gun can misfire, or the weapon can misfire. So you always got to roll for that. So, and I believe it's a 6-sider. Something like that you roll. You have to roll low. Actually, if you roll low, I think it goes off or has a misfire. Combat modifiers. You have different kinds of weapons, you got clubs, you got knives, you got pitchforks, razor, rock, all that good stuff. Injury, it's not like D&D where you heal up real quick. You got to go to the hospital, or as they say in England, go to hospital to heal up, and that could take days to weeks. And you roll to see if let's see, I think it's 100-sider on injury complications, what happens after it. Scar, fever, infection, weight loss, shakes, all that kind of stuff. You can go deaf in one ear. You can have a weak voice. So you don't want to get into combat. You really don't. All right, so there we go. That's part 1. I'll split this up into 2 parts, I guess. And come on back and we'll finish the rest. There's definitely potential here, but again, you got to be into it.